Okay, welcome back everyone to our first Kriya Yoga Sunday service for 2026. I probably should have just let that video with Roy keep going. Many good things to say, and every time I see those videos, I remember how much I miss being able to sit with him in the chalet and listen to him talk about Kriya Yoga. Time flies, and those people that you think you're going to have around forever to learn from, well, they're not always going to be there forever. So it's important to appreciate those experiences while you have them. Before we get started, let's begin with a prayer. This is a prayer that I've known for a while and I've really come to appreciate lately. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanao Bunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, may we too, in our studies, the teacher and the student, move together. Together, may we too relish our studies, both the teacher and the student. Together, may we perform our studies with vigor and deep concentration. May what has been studied by us be filled with brilliance of understanding leading to knowledge, and may it not give rise to hostility due to lack of understanding. Om, peace, peace, peace. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be. It's good to see you all, so many of you. Our Kriya Yoga apprenticeship program has started. Soon, at the end of this month, we'll begin the Samadhi Yoga study group. So we've got a lot happening. And we also have the June Kriya Yoga and the Sacred Fire retreat, the Solstice retreat, which is at the Himalayan Institute. And that retreat has been filling up very quickly. I wasn't expecting it to almost fill up by January 18th. So if that's something that you are interested in exploring or being a part of, get in touch with us or go to the kriyayogaonline.com website for more information on that. Today, what are we going to talk about? Today, we're going to consider what part of us doesn't feel pain. What part of us doesn't feel pain? While it would be wonderful if we always began our spiritual practice just out of a deep longing and love for communion with the divine, for most of us, this occurs because we have difficulty in our lives, or we're not satisfied, or we feel pain of some kind. And even individuals who seem to have the best relationships and all of the money in the world and not a care, they still come up against this sense of lack or sense of meaninglessness, which is a type of pain. And so it's the spiritual path which helps to understand how to resolve that. In fact, that is the whole purpose of Kriya Yoga. Give me one moment. I lost my tea. There it is. Hold on. Hopefully the video will catch up. I'm right over here. Yoo-hoo. There we go. So what is that part of us that doesn't feel pain? The part of us that doesn't feel pain is our essential soul nature. It's not our personality. It's not our body. It's not our mind. It is that part of us which is eternal, which is the seer, which is the witness. And it's always there, but it's so quiet that you barely notice it. And those of you who've been on the spiritual path for a while, you know this, that you catch glimpses, these moments of recognizing that you feel a sense of freedom inside. You feel sometimes even in very difficult circumstances, that these are just passing and changing things that are kind of flowing in front of your awareness. And in those moments when you catch a glimpse like that, you are momentarily, temporarily identified with that part of you, that seer, that essence of you. And I wouldn't even say it's a part of you, it really just is you. And through Kriya Yoga, through our spiritual practice, the whole purpose of it all is to redirect your awareness from all the stuff that changes to that which is changeless. And that is done in meditation, but meditation has to be done for this purpose, meaning you have to have it as your intention. I just want to clarify that because a lot of people meditate because they want to relax or they want to let go or they want to zone out. And that's okay. That can be very helpful at times. But relaxing, letting go, and zoning out doesn't introduce you to that essence of your being. Because once you hit that relaxed state, once you hit that zoned out state, it's not going to last forever. So you're going to have to keep doing it. You're going to have to keep going through the process. In a way, for some people, their meditation, their spiritual path is really just an obsessive compulsive disorder. They're just doing it to keep going back to zoning out, to keep going back to being relaxed. And I suppose it's a better activity than something else. But if you approach your meditation practice with the intention that you want to know, witness, experience your soul nature, your seer nature, then what happens is it doesn't matter if you zone out. It doesn't matter if you're relaxed. That happens naturally and you enjoy it. But you ride that experience inward until you catch a glimpse of what you are: free, clear, whole, serene. You see it, you feel it, you are it, just for a moment. And then you go into your day, and those things that would irritate you or cause you stress before come up, but you have that memory of what you are. So it still might bother you, but you are less bothered because in a way you remember, oh yeah, that's right. Well, I don't actually need to worry about this because it's not who I am. You deal with it appropriately, but you don't have to stress about it. It doesn't have to be pathological. And then the next day you catch another glimpse, and the next day you catch another glimpse. And eventually, in time, over the course of months or years, those glimpses turn into moments. And those moments turn into minutes. And those minutes turn into whole meditation sessions. And once you become very well acquainted with what you are as the seer, as the self, as the witness, then when you go into life, you still have all the dramas that everyone else has to deal with. They might be a little less dramatic because you're not making more of a problem by reacting negatively towards them. But you go into life, and now when things happen, you're seeing them from the perspective of the seer. And you know that if you get fired from your job, you're not freaking out because, well, I wasn't my job anyway. I am the seer. If your relationship shatters and falls apart, you certainly grieve it, but you are established in the self, which means you say, okay, well, I am incarnated into a world where relationships come and go one way or the other. And so I know I am the self. And so through the grief, even there's a sense of peacefulness and awareness. We can have issues with our familial relationships, our blood relatives, people that we think we should always get along with and that we should understand each other. And some of those relationships can go batshit crazy. And you step back and you say, what the heck is that? And if you're not aware of yourself as the seer and you are invested in your relationship to your child or to your parents or whoever, you say, well, they're people too, and they've got their own karmic path. I know I am the self. I know I incarnated into a world where things change. And so, okay. Now, to some, that might seem strange, or it might seem maybe even boring. That's not really the word I was looking for. But It's not because you are no longer addicted to all this outside of you. You have a sense of center and you can access that center. And within that center really is a place of joy and of peace. The word is stuck in my mind since this summer when we did a retreat at the Assisi Institute, and there was Barbara Zanella, one of Roy's students from Italy, and she kept talking about your breath is your best friend. So when you're meditating, meditate with your best friend, and that stuck in my mind. But yourself is kind of your best friend, even though it is you. Imagine those experiences that you've had with people that you really connect with, when you've had those moments of just appreciation for being around someone that you resonate with, and where you can laugh together and you can just be relaxed around each other. Well, imagine that experience, but amplified. That's the experience you get when you become self, with a capital S, self satisfied, when you turn within and you are able to abide as, feel the seer, the witness, your soul nature. And so while your outward life might seem boring to a lot of people because you're not getting caught up in the drama or the soap opera of things, your inner life is absolutely illumined and fulfilled. So the part of you which doesn't feel pain is that part because it has wisdom. It knows what's going on. Sometimes when I think about writing another book, sort of like a basic book that all people should know who just incarnate, but we're going to keep it specific to spiritual people because they'll be the ones that are interested in it. People who are interested in spiritual things. I think, there needs to be a chapter that we spend a lot of time just focusing on what's the reality of being here. The fact that you've got a body, you're going to get old, your friends are going to leave you, nothing's going to stay the same, things are going to start hurting. You're not going to be successful in everything that you do. You're going to be let down. You're going to be betrayed. All these things that you experience as a human being, that's just the nature of being here in this world. And if we as yogis could get over the fact that we think that we should be able to escape from that, we would relax a whole lot quicker because we would know that this is just the nature of existing in this world. If you talk to a farmer, someone who gardens, someone who farms, they don't get upset every single time a rainstorm comes or there's a drought or a fox eats their chickens. They might be a little miffed, but it doesn't ruin their whole life, their whole day. They don't become obsessed and fixated on it as though, oh God, why me? They know that that's just part of the nature of being a farmer. Well, you are a farmer of life. And in life, your government's going to do stupid, crazy stuff. People are going to be cruel to each other. There's going to be a lot of idiots in the world that don't understand certain things. Compassion is going to be rarer than you want it to be. Like this is just where we are. And if you took time to really just, okay, that is the nature of what's happening here, you wouldn't be so upset all the time. And it would be easier for you to sit down, be quiet, and explore this theme, this path of, all right, well, what am I? What is the actual field that is not overcome by all of this, which has wisdom, not in a sense to where it's just trying to fight it back to keep it from overwhelming you emotionally, but that field which deeply and truly knows the nature of things. And if you can know the nature of things here in this world, it makes it much easier for you to know the nature of your spiritual realm. And you have to walk a fine line with that, because on one hand, there are people who are just trying to escape from this world. People who are trying to live good lives so that they can get into heaven. So, they're really just trying to get somewhere. They're not just trying to be a good person. They're doing it to get something. Or you have individuals who get into Eastern traditions and yoga because of the suffering in the world, and they want to escape from all of the suffering. I get it. That makes sense to me too. But that, when you approach it in that, with that kind of uh, energy, um, you're perpetuating, you're continuing, you're not escaping from the cycle if that's the reason that you're doing it. So we have to just simply acknowledge that we are here in this time, space, and circumstance, because it is only here right now, in this moment, in your life situation, that what you need to know or understand or do or be, whatever that is, you are being given the opportunity to learn and grow, so that you are not attached to those situations, so that you can respond appropriately to those situations. And only by doing that do you sort of secure your footing into the next stage of your evolution. And we are not meant to just stay here in the human world. The human world is a phase, but we do have to take the phase seriously while we were here. Just like when you are in high school or in college, that's not the end of it. You are in that, you are in that school, you are in that place to prepare yourself for living, for going out into the world. However, when you are in high school, when you're in college, you do have to take college absolutely seriously so that you are prepared for what you will be doing next. So you have to meditate regularly with this intention, with this direction of knowing who you are, what you are as the self. You have to do that. And then as you engage in your life when you're not meditating, everything that comes your way, every experience, every challenge, everything that you think shouldn't be that way, is pointing you directly at what you need to be understanding. I'm currently working on a book. It's called Becoming a Kriya Yoga Teacher. At least that's the working title at the moment. And it's a workbook for people who want to be Kriya Yoga meditation guides, or Kriya Yoga meditation facilitators, or Kriya Yoga meditation teachers in the long run. So it's a workbook. And there's this one part I'd like to read to you because I think it's important to what we're talking about here. No matter your outer role, whether as a solitary meditator, a guide to a few, or a visible figure offering teachings to many, never lose sight of the joy that drew you to the spiritual path in the first place. The world, as real as it may seem, is only a phase in the grand unfolding of creation. This moment in time, this stage of evolution, holds within it exactly what each soul needs for their next step in awakening. Everyone is where they are, not by accident, but because of the conditions of their current life. These contain the precise elements needed for their spiritual growth. Even the challenges we face, especially the ones that press against our deepest sensitivities, are not punishments, they're mirrors, they're messengers. They are signs from divinity. As Sri Yukteswar reminds us in the Holy Science, this ignorance, being composed of only ideas, has no substantial existence in reality, but is merely a play of ideas on the eternal substance, God the Father. When this is remembered, not as a concept, but as a direct reality, it transforms how we relate to our suffering, our doubts, and even our setbacks. We begin to see that every experience, pleasant or painful, is designed by Divine Mother or Prakriti, not to hinder us, but to illuminate our soul. It may often feel as if life is pointing directly at our weak spots. And in truth, it is, because nature's only goal is your liberation. As the Samkhya Karika states, this evolution caused by Prakriti operates for the sake of the final release of each separate self. If it appears as if Prakriti were acting in her own interest, but in reality, she acts only in the interests of others. To understand this is to accept the spiritual adventure we are on. It is to walk through life with awareness that we are supported at every step, even when the terrain is difficult. When we live in this way, with reverence for the hidden intelligence in all things, we cultivate a radiant field within, and that radiance begins to speak louder than any words we might share. This, more than anything else, is what it means to be a true representative of a spiritual tradition. So I felt that was important because you need to know that. If you don't know that, your life is going to be really frustrating, and your spiritual path will bring you a sense of calm and peacefulness. It's not going to give its full fruit. I've used this example before. It's like getting a really fancy sports car and putting the wrong tires on it. You're going to get somewhere, but you're not going to be able to really engage the whole reality of that vehicle. So I want to encourage you to really reflect upon this, reflect upon your life and where you are. And if you have time, if your life is calm and peaceful and fairly well organized, nothing's really going wrong, and that's probably happening for a good bit of you, and even if your minds might not be letting you believe it, then give more attention to your spiritual practice with the intention of knowing yourself, with the intention of knowing what is that part of you, or what is that field of you which is free. And really take time with it. And if you think, oh, I'll do that later, I've got these other fun things to do. Well, one day you're going to be dead. And that's going to happen a lot quicker than you think. And you're going to get to that point and you're going to say, gee, I wish I would have done more of that. So take it seriously. Take your time. Make it a very important aspect of what you do. And then those of you who might be struggling, or when you do get to a point of struggle, rather than think this is an obstacle, I can't believe I have to deal with this stuff, or anything like that. Well, first of all, step back and ask yourself, how many other people deal with this in life? And, am I really that special? See it for what it is. And then take another step back and say, all right, I am clearly sensitive to this situation. This is clearly disturbing my peace. There's something here clearly that I think I am that I am not. And so how can I work with that? How can I work through that? And if you take the time in that moment to look at it, to work through it, rather than avoid it or just get frustrated about it, you will accelerate your spiritual progress. And then when you hit that next plateau of smooth sailing, your meditation practices will be even deeper, clearer, and more, spiritually enriching. And in that way, then every part of your journey becomes an important part of your spiritual path. I was recently reading a book called Meditation and the Art of Dying by Swami Veda Bharati. It was a really wonderful book. And there's a story in there which I'd heard before, where a woman's child had died, a baby. And this was during the time of the Buddha. And the woman took the baby to the Buddha and said, I've heard you have special powers. Can you bring this baby back to life? And the Buddha said, go and fetch me rice from someone's house who has never experienced death. If you do that, I'll bring your baby back to life. And so this woman went to every house asking for rice, but then she had to ask, have you experienced death? And each person would tell a story of loss that they had and grief that they went through. And in that whole process, she learned just the nature of life, and she learned compassion. And she realized that that's just part of participating in this world, that sometimes these things happen. And so when she returned to the Buddha, she herself was actually quite a bit more enlightened because of that process. So take that for what you will. I realize this is the first talk of the year and I'm already talking about death and loss, but I think it's important. Reading that book for a long time when I was younger, I was a pessimistic person. And everyone's telling me, oh, be more optimistic, be more happy, be more joyful. And I'd say, yeah, but look around at the world. And it used to, I used to think there was something wrong with me. Clearly, there must be something wrong with me because no one else sees the world like this. As I was talking to a few folks the other day, my grandmother, she would always tell me I had an attitude problem. I needed to fix my attitude because of how I saw things. But then as I studied more and more yoga, the more I realized, oh, it is very important to know that that is the way life is. So I want to let you know that despite the fact that I have seen the world that way, that in this first talk of the year, I am bringing up things like death and challenging you to face your difficulties. I want to let you know that me doing that made me a whole lot happier. So it's not simply to be morose or to be morbid, but you really need to think about it. And it can alter how you live your life, how you change your life. I'd even talked about this with my counselor one time, because particularly after my wife Melissa died, it amplified that whole feeling of we don't know how much time we have, and it stuck with me. And I thought, is this just the result of trauma and grief that I experienced? But the more I looked into deeper yoga practices and yogic understanding, all the great yogis say you have to be aware of death. You have to be aware of the finiteness of this moment. And I realized, oh, this is actually a gift that I've been given. So I don't want you to have to go through that, any of those things, or to be pessimistic like I was. But I think it's important to live your life knowing that your body, your mind, your personality is really just temporary, and that every moment that you are able to spend without being, as I mentioned, obsessive compulsive or pathological about it, that you're able to spend wondering, contemplating, feeling into, well, what is the part of me that is eternal? What is the part of me that really is illuminated and free and is beyond time and karma and even space? I want you to know that that is accessible. If you've read books and you think, oh, I can't do that, I want you to know that you can. It doesn't take forever, but it does take time. So if you can hold that in your mind as a possibility for yourself, I guarantee you, if you stick with the Kriya Yoga processes that you know, if you continue to learn, if you continue to learn from a skillful teacher who can guide you along the path that leads to that realization, you absolutely can and will be able to touch that space. I've experienced it in my own life between myself and my teacher. I'm very thrilled and happy when I work with individuals who go on our apprenticeship retreats or even our advanced retreats to listen to their stories and hear what they have realized and the progress they have made. If you stay tuned to the Kriya Yoga Online blog, I have a collection of articles that students have written about their own experiences with this. And I've released one recently. It was about the internal family systems and a woman's experience with that. But I have several other articles that have been written that I'm going to start releasing, students describing this process, how they did it, how it helped them. So you're not alone. There is precedent for it. And it's not just a fantasy or a myth or something in a fanciful yogic storybook. You can do it. All right. Well, seems like I should turn this one into a podcast. So give me a moment. For those of you who aren't on the call and might be listening to it in the podcast, you're welcome to participate in these monthly Kriya Yoga Sunday services. And next up, we have a Q&A session for Kriya Yoga Online Patreon members, as well as Kriya Yoga Online Ashram students. So you can learn more about that at our website, kriyayogaonline.com. Well, thank you all for being here today. It was wonderful to see you. Such a great turnout for the first session of the year. I look forward to all the stuff that we have planned for 2026. I've had to calm down a little bit because we had a lot of classes happening and retreats getting scheduled. And as you know, Jasmine, my partner, you've interacted with her, you've seen her on retreat too. She schedules all those things. And I had another idea for a class, and she said, no. She said, we have to work. We have to take care of all of these registrations first. So fortunately, I've helped with that, and we are able to do everything that we're doing. So if you get a chance to interact with Jasmine, you can thank her for her help. And then as we kind of progress into the year, my other ideas, we'll start releasing those as well. One of my ideas, just to tell you, since we were listening to that video that I did with Mr. Davis back in 2016, I thought to myself, more people need to listen to him again. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we did a class series where we just watched his videos together and then had discussion meditation afterwards? For me, it would be great because it would be just like, when I was at CSA with him and visiting with him. But for you, it would be great too to reintroduce you to it, and then we could explore what he says, even though he's pretty clear and doesn't really need a whole lot of explaining. But that's my next idea, is to have maybe a 8-week class or so for something like that. So, okay, well, I will see you next month, or if you're going to be participating in the Q&A, I'll see you in about 5 minutes. So take care. Peace. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Kriya Yoga podcast. To learn more about Kriya Yoga meditation, you can visit us at kriyayogaonline.com, where you can find information about current book releases, online classes, and in-person retreats throughout the year. If you're interested in supporting this podcast, visit us at the Kriya Yoga Online Patreon community at patreon.com/Kriya Yoga.